Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, September 25th, and I'm pleased to have back with me Larry Nichols. How are you, Larry?
Hey, I'm fine, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to hear your voice, and it's good to hear you sounding healthy and strong. Now, today we're going to be talking about the ongoing controversy relative to the appointment of Brett Kavanaugh as a potential member of the Supreme Court. It's something you and I have spoken about quite a bit, Larry. We've got some new information today. So I've been gathering a bunch of articles. First thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, Larry, but the images that I've selected for today's show. We've got a picture of Brett Kavanaugh in what looks like a high school football uniform. We've got a photograph that was sent to me, which was allegedly supplied by a classmate, that shows a person who is purported to be Dr. Ford, also in her high school days, wearing what appears to be a swimsuit, or at least the bottom portion of a swimsuit, passed out on a table with a lot of beer and drinks there and everything. And then we have this lawyer, Bromwich, I believe his name is Michael Bromwich, and he has recently stepped up to represent Dr. Ford for free. And the reason I find this so interesting, Larry, is that Mr. Bromwich is also representing Andrew McCabe. And one of the things that you and I have spoken about quite a lot is how there is this sort of incestuous, insidious, I scratch your back, you scratch my back network. What do you make of these bits of evidence, Larry?
Well, first off, the evidence of being I don't know. Being Kavanaugh, I don't know. But here's what I do know with absolution. That attorney that was representing McCabe, forget McCabe, forget it. He should be disbarred immediately, because what he is demanding with this case is 100% diametrically opposed to the oath he took as a part of the bar, legal bar. Now, why is nobody doing that?
How is it that,
That's
Larry?
a simple remedy. Huh?
How is it opposed to the bar? Like, what has he done specifically?
Number one, he's representing a case where they're prosecuting a man based off no evidence.
Right.
You can't do that under the... I know the canons very well of the bar. You can't do that. It says very clearly that you must represent in all things, in all matters, the standards of the Constitution of the United States.
Of course.
I'm sorry, can anybody show me a standard in the Constitution of the United States that says a man is guilty until he proves he's innocent?
Right.
Can you?
Of course. I mean, well, innocent, sorry, I misheard you. Innocent until proven guilty. Yes, of course. That's the crux of what we're discussing. There's all this, Me Too movement afoot. And the Me Too movement, of course, is very important. But the hypocrisy, Larry, and you were there when this was going on. Bill Clinton has allegedly sexually assaulted many women. And Hillary was never vocal about those women's stories being heard at that time.
Nope. Not a one. Matter of fact, Hillary forced me on many occasions to be very brutal with women. Ask Juanita Broderick.
Exactly. I
Ask
have
Juanita
asked.
Broderick if you want to meet me on a dark street when I'm pissed.
Well, there's some other things I want to bring to your attention, Larry, about this Bromwich lawyer. He seems to get involved in all kinds of things, and he's obviously coming to public attention now in this case. Just in searching for some material in preparation for our conversation today, I found this article about Bromwich being involved as an antitrust monitor for Apple, and this is from 2015. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New York heard Apple's arguments to dislodge lawyer Michael Bromwich from his position as external antitrust monitor, with one judge voicing concern over the methods used in his investigation. So here we have a judge and a corporation who are pointing out this guy's doing something that seems to be not on the up and up. Judge Jacobs took issue with the $1,100 per hour fees Bromwich initially charged Apple for his services, saying the public would be flabbergasted at this amount. And I think that's interesting to note.
He also said in that ruling, he could find no actions, no efforts by Bromley to justify that amount.
Right.
So think about it. The judges saying he hadn't done anything for that money.
Well, it's a huge fee, Larry. Have you ever earned $1,100 per hour?
I have.
Okay.
But it was crooked.
All right. Well, that's a good point. I think this lawyer is earning it in a way that's crooked as well. I think the bottom line is, unless you're doing something super sketchy, it's tough to make $1,100 an hour.
It is. It's hard to be straight and do it. Truly is.
So let me bring yet another thing to your attention. Sorry, before we do that story, I want to build this evidence for you, Larry, before we go to that story, if I may. Because we've got this issue of a judge calling out Bromwich for his exorbitant fees. We've got Bromwich representing Dr. Ford free of charge. That seems really magnanimous of him, given his past record of charging Apple $1,100 an hour to monitor their antitrust activities. But it causes me to bring to everyone's attention this GoFundMe page that we were looking at the other day. Now, this is a GoFundMe page to cover Dr. Blasey's security costs. I also find it interesting that she's Dr. Blasey Ford, she's Christine Ford, she's Dr. Blasey, she's Ford Blasey. It's, you know, there's all this confusion surrounding this person, and the photograph on the GoFundMe page is a totally different woman. It's not Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. It is this is someone who says, I do not know Dr. Blasey personally, but will contact her via former high school Holton Arms to inform her of this fundraising appeal. So here's someone who's not even Dr. Blasey, who in something like 4 days raised $209,000 for her security costs, her legal defense ostensibly, and we've got the same lawyer who's representing Andrew McCabe representing Dr. Ford. Does that seem like a conflict of interest to you, Larry?
Well, of course, but I think if you check with that attorney, he is pro bono with pledge.
What does that mean?
Well, it means he's pro bono, but if there's extra money, he gets paid it.
Right.
So after expenses, if there's anything left, he gets it.
I wonder how that'll work out.
It'll work out where he'll get most money.
Right. So what was the story you wanted to share?
Tell me, who is she afraid is going to attack her? Little old gray-haired women in wheelchairs that are Republicans don't go out and attack people. Republicans, true American Republican conservatives, we don't go out and attack people. What is she afraid of? There's not a case where we go in restaurants and shout down somebody trying to eat, is there?
Yeah. Well, it's reasonable for the woman to be scared for her safety, but I just think that, you know, there's so many aspects to this case that seem sketchy, at a certain point, we really need to question it. Now, obviously, victims of abuse certainly have a right to be heard. I don't agree with this statement that everyone deserves to be believed. Not everyone deserves to be believed. Some people are just liars.
Yeah, and look, if you want to sit on a case for 37 years and then bring it out with no evidence, don't be surprised if people don't take you seriously. Don't.
Yeah.
But oh God, that's not what this is about. Nothing you've described this is about. It's not. It's not about any of this. It's about shutting down Congress. It's about shutting down so that Trump doesn't get his pick for the Supreme Court, although it's his responsibility. They're stopping him. And just what I'm telling you, show me one legal person. You don't even have to be a good one. Show me one legal person that has walked up to the board and demanded that he be taken off. Show me one. Show me a Republican that's gone to the bar to which he belongs and demand he be stricken from the bar. Because if he's stricken from the bar, guess what? He can't do anything for her in court. I did that with Clinton.
You did that?
Sure.
Had
I got
Bill...
Clinton stricken from the bar.
Right.
He
Right.
couldn't practice law. Period.
Wow. I don't know if people realize that that was you that did that, Larry. It's good to reiterate.
Well, I don't care if they remember it being me or not. Point is, he cannot practice law to this day.
Yeah.
That's how serious what that attorney has done.
Yeah. Right. And of course, you know, there was this report as well from Mike Adams, the health ranger. Mike has now been doing the Real.video service, which is an alternative to YouTube and some of these other things. But on his website, Natural News, Mike posted a bombshell report which details 14 glaring errors in this letter, claiming that the letter to Dianne Feinstein is a total fake. And of course, Dr. Ford is supposed to be a PhD, and basically this person, well, the analysis of this letter goes through some really basic grammatical errors that I think it's hard to call this conclusive proof, but certainly another element of evidence that draw question when considering this testimony. Is it reasonable to presume that a PhD would have so many really simple grammatical errors in a letter that they're writing to a senator? I don't know. It seems weird.
You know, it's possible, because if this were real, I'm saying if it were real, which it's not, her nervous tension could be such that, you know, she'd make stupid mistakes. But I don't think that's what they are. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a typed letter. She could edit it.
This connects to the story I want to tell you.
Yeah.
When you hear the story, I think all of this will make more sense than it has so far. Mm-hmm. My opinion.
Okay.
Of course.
Go ahead.
Jason?
Yeah, lay it on us, Larry.
Okay. All right. When I was in engineering school, there was something I learned. It's called cathodic protection. Cathodic protection. Now, when I was learning it, I didn't think anything about it. But when I got in that tiff with the Clintons, and I knew how they did business, and by that, I knew, Jason, they were going to destroy me. They're going to destroy my credibility. All right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they called the Clinton roast. We did it. That's what we were specialists at. Just what's happening to Kavanaugh. But remember, just like I told you time and time again since we've been doing this program, when you control the media and everybody else, you can pull stunts like this and get by with it, right?
Right.
You're getting by with it. Well, here I go. I'm in a tiff with the Clintons. You're fixing to destroy my name. I'm fixing to turn into the most hated person in that day in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to me, cathodic protection. Then I realized why I learned that word. Cathodic protection, folks, you deal with every day. Every day when you drive past a bridge overpass, most bridge overpasses that have steel in the structures, there are pieces of steel around the real steel holding up the bridge, but these pieces of steel that are around it, they have a higher speed, I'm going to put it my way, higher speed of rusting. The little rust Ouija's really can work on them. And by working on those plates of steel that are away from the bridge, the steel in the bridge lasts longer. Y'all get that, Jason? Do you get what I just told you?
It sort of attracts the rust to it away from the part that they don't want to rust.
Absolutely. So I'm sitting there, and I'm going to get roasted. And I'm thinking of cathodic protection. And you know what came to me? I said, well, hell, they're going to roast me anyway. So I'm going to draw it in on me. I'm going to draw it in on me. I'm going to let them call me every name in the book. And, Jason, I'm going to admit it. Whether I did it or didn't, I'm going to admit it. And there were reporters that called me, and they said, we heard you were doing this, that, and the other, a year ago. I said, well, hell, that ain't nothing. Did he tell you what I really did? And they just fell back. What? And I'd say, well, I know a lot worse than that.
But what's the point, Larry?
Over backwards. I'd never seen anything like that.
How does it help you? I don't understand.
It didn't help me, but it helped the country. I knew one day there would be a Kavanaugh. I thought it'd be under Clinton. I knew there would be a Kavanaugh. And so I was going to prove, stupidly, that they were going to destroy him. Why did I bother to be a good guy? Why did Kavanaugh, Jason, try to be a good guy all his life? Isn't it funny? He did everything in his life to try to be a good man, correct?
It seems that way.
Lived right, worked right, and then you got me. I did everything a man could do to be worthless. And he got roasted. It didn't mean nothing. It didn't mean a thing. Unless we can find people with courage, that can stand up, and just like what I told you, this case should be put in the ground. Number one, we should find an attorney, a lawyer, the lowliest lawyer on planet Earth that wants to become somebody, go up against this attorney and his, whatever, with the...
Bromwich
with the... oh, shoot, my mind just went blank.
Dr. Ford?
No, the power that legal ethics people...
the bar commission.
The bar, yes. Yeah. Go up against the bar. And if they don't kick him out of the bar, sue it. Sue the bar.
Wow. How are you going to find a lawyer to sue the bar?
Huh?
how would someone find a lawyer to sue the Bar Association?
Well, that's where the jig's up for us, buddy. Jig is up. Either we start acting like Americans, either we start doing stuff like Americans, or you can write this country off. Write it off now. Because you are days away, Jason, days away from them canceling Kavanaugh's appointment.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely trying to do that for sure.
Now, I'm going to tell you a little inside secret. President Trump, Jeff Sessions, and others have demanded Mitch McConnell to call for a vote of the full Senate now. Call it up now. It's due. The requirements have been met. Do it. And isn't that funny? McConnell just won't do it.
Why is that?
Why is it?
I don't know.
Why is it? Do y'all think McConnell is one of us?
Yeah. Well, he's a
Look,
Rhino.
I'm not gonna sit here, Jason, and accuse anybody of being a traitor, bad guy, whatever. But I will stand flat-footed and spit in their face over their deeds and their actions and inactions.
You know, Larry, I want to shift the focus for a moment to something else because, I mean, it's related, but I want your opinion on this. So we've spoken about how this guy, you know, Michael Bromwich is representing, he's Andrew McCabe's attorney, and according to the Washington Examiner, he says he's representing, you know, Dr. Ford here for free, which from what we've seen about his tendencies to overcharge giant corporations like Apple, it seems really strange, and that he would do it for free. So here in this Washington Examiner article, they are straight telling us that the prominent attorney, they're talking about Bromwich, the attorney raised $570,000 on GoFundMe for McCabe just after McCabe was fired. That seems grossly unethical to me for this guy to, you know, go around representing people and using these GoFundMe accounts. Like, what regulation is there over GoFundMe? I don't know. I remember that campaign for $500,000. If you go to GoFundMe right now and just look up Andrew McCabe, there is an Andrew McCabe pension fund on GoFundMe that's seeking $200,000 and has raised $18,000 already. And you know, we've heard about these fraudulent GoFundMe campaigns, and I think they can, you know, run the gamut from the individuals themselves starting them, a third party starting them, someone potentially starting it to divert funds. I mean, in the case of this person who's admitting they don't even know Dr. Blasey Ford, and we've got all these different names for her. It's just a very weird thing. I think it's time for people to start looking at GoFundMe, and possibly we should have some more oversight or regulation of this website that seems a very easy way to send payments from unknown people to whoever you want.
Well, let me tell you another little trick that nobody's thought about or looked into. I happen to have. Guess what?
What?
McCabe has a slush fund from the FBI to pay all of his legal defense.
What do you mean?
What the hell is he raising money for?
How does he have that slush fund?
FBI has a slush fund. The union set up a slush fund years ago, I found out, to cover any wrongful firings, etc., all of which is covered under his contract. You're not going to pay a cent. Not a cent, except for one, maybe.
Huh.
He might have to pay that lawyer anything that the slush fund arbitrator thinks is too high.
Right. Well, there you've just hit it. Why do they want to deal with an arbitrator? They can just create this GoFundMe account, funnel 500 grand into there from whoever. I mean, you know, we've seen people on YouTube and elsewhere, Twitter, create all kinds of fake accounts. I mean, I'm looking at the recent donations to FBI veteran Peter Strzok. $50, $100, $50, $20, $100, $100, anonymous $100. I don't know, Larry. I mean, when you do these types of fundraising campaigns, there are generous people for sure, but most people are not giving $100 at a time, and most people are not doing it anonymously. I'm finding that you know, sponsorship payments are more in the $1 to $5 range. I'm amazed that someone as polarizing as Peter Strzok would have so many anonymous $100 donors. And Don
Don't
Cox.
be deceived. Don't be deceived by that.
It's a lot of
Don't you go
anonymous.
thinking for a second
Yeah.
that they don't have some big boys chipping in.
Oh, I think that's all it is.
You got it. You got it. Jason, you're on the tip right now. What you're talking about. You have no idea how close you are to the tip of what's about to snap.
Yeah.
Snap. Now, I'm limited, as you know, to what I can say.
Yep.
But I will tell you this, folks, it's coming. It's coming, and it ain't going to look like you think it's going to look when it hits.
What do you mean?
What if I was to tell you, I'm going to phrase this hypothetical. You got it?
Yeah.
What if I was to tell you that Nunes, Jordan, and Meadows, the three leading investigations into all of this, had all but been threatened to drop their investigations?
I would believe that.
All but directly threatened. All but raw, unadulterated extortion. Now, which side of the room do you think those came from? Democrat or Republican?
The Clinton side. Because you know, Larry, I no longer.
There was not one Democrat, not one, involved at all.
I no longer really even think about Democrats and Republicans because it's just such a charade. I'm just thinking about, you know, criminals versus the limited number of people who are trying to expose their criminality.
Well, you'd be the first honest man hanging around dealing with Washington I've ever met.
Well, that's why I'm in New York. I'm kind of far away. Let me shift you for a minute, Larry. Let's talk also.
Now, did my hypothetical shock you at all?
I mean, you know,
Did it shock you at all?
at this point, it's hard to shock me, Larry, because so much stuff has gone on that I'm not surprised, you know? I mean, I want to know more and I want to wait to see what happens, but not really. I'm not shocked because I think they're becoming so desperate. Let me shift you for a moment. Let's talk about Rod Rosenstein. I had released a photo composite yesterday of Charles Ortel having a little barbecue with Rod Rosenstein on the griddle because he's just about ready to have a fork stuck in him. I think he's done.
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm just asking your opinion. What's the next thing to happen to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein?
He is up to something. As sure as you and I are talking right now, he's got some move he's going to make to position himself safe. And he told Trump used the, the thing with the international bunch as a way to put it off.
The UN, yeah.
So that he and his people could review the option that he's given them, but it ain't good. Rosenstein thinks he's not going anywhere.
You really think that?
I know that. Look, I'm sorry. I don't want to come over here and say what I say. You ask me, I tell you.
Yeah, no, it's your insights that I'm interested in. And it's, as you say it, it's causing me to think, Larry, because, regular civilians who don't know and don't have DC experience, I mean, we look at this and we sort of figure, well, all right, Rod Rosenstein, we had some preemptive reports yesterday that he had been fired, that he was going to resign.
Oh,
but what you're saying is causing me to think.
God.
These Washington animals.
See through that.
They're planning ahead.
4 or 5 blocks. He's going 4 or 5 blocks. They get in the car. They do the great caravan routine. Surely, Jason, if he was going to talk to Trump, right? He would have called him. And if it was true that Trump was tied up with this UN junk, Trump would have said, well, don't bother, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, he drives over there. It's real. It's real.
Well, so what was that all about?
Rosenstein's up to one of his slippery tricks.
Huh.
Can you anticipate? Fixing to blackmail Trump. And I think, I got to be hypothetical once again, but I got a feeling he's holding what he says he jested about
the tapes
in that McCabe memo. I think he's got something.
Huh.
And he wants to personally show it to Trump and tell Trump, you get rid of me, this comes out.
So
you see
says,
that, don't you?
Well, he says publicly, I mean, it's interesting, I hadn't thought of that, but so he says publicly there's no reason to invoke the 25th Amendment. He's sending a signal to the president that I can be an ally to you. But he potentially has, I mean, Larry, isn't it illegal to record a conversation with the President of the United States without his knowledge?
Well, of course it is, but since when are we talking legal or illegal in this new universe?
Right.
Listen, I'll ask you to do, all of you listening to this program right now, this is why I hope you're listening to this program. Think about it. Why? If he was going to talk to Trump, correct? He would call ahead to the staff, his staff, their staff. They would talk, and that they want to have a meeting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Trump was tied up actually in a UN thing he couldn't get out of, Trump would tell him, don't bother coming over, right? Because I ain't going to be here.
Yeah, you'd think he'd know.
I got to be at the UN.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about that. That's not what that meeting where he was going over there was talking about.
And do you think that's why Trump
he was going over? I'm sorry?
Do you think that's why Trump backpedaled on the declassifying the FISA? I didn't mean to step on what you were saying. Okay. So he was going over there to do what?
All linked together.
Linked together, yeah. Because Trump could really just release that FISA stuff on Twitter if he wanted to.
He dropped the bomb on Trump. Him personally.
Huh.
and he informed Trump that he was actually holding that memo and that he did actually record that conversation and that he does have staff, Trump staff, recorded and willing to talk. So Trump had no choice but to back down, dig back in with the UN and buy himself some time for he and Jeff and others to figure out what to do, how to play it. That's a fact.
Okay, so yeah, because it seems like Trump could just release these FISA documents on Twitter if he wanted to. Why does he need these guys to release them?
Exactly, and if he releases those FISA things, according to all that's holy, if we were still under constitutional law, you know, he would go to jail.
Who would go to jail?
Rosenstein.
Right. Yeah, because he used
signed
the
those
FISA.
things.
Right, and he knew they were bogus.
I'm telling you, Jason, there's some things going on that are the most critical, the most dangerous for our nation ever. Now, you're going to start getting the little text thingies, you know, saying I'm crazy and such. Fine. Call me crazy. I don't care. Call me crazy. But you better sit back and watch. Sit back and watch. And I will say this, Jason. When this is all said and done, if we don't do right, if we don't do it right, and I mean perfectly right, to those people that want to call me crazy, I don't know what you want. I guess you think you want your name in the stone that shows you saved or did something for America. Well, you haven't. Your hatred for me is going to put you on a stone. It's going to be on the stone for traitors. Stone for traitors. And it's waiting for you. It's waiting for you. Because you know what, Jason? I have told you before, I don't give two hoots and a tinker's damn what a soul listening to me believes in me anymore. Not a soul. Those days are over. You know, I had to ask people to believe in me to try to get people to see what was going on with our country. I had to. Well, I don't have to now. Now, if you can't see what's happening with the country, it's because of you. You won't open your eyes. Thank God for people like Jason, and I'm not being patronizing. I'm sorry, Jason. There's just not a line of people lined up out there willing to go up against this power base that's trying to steal our country. There's not.
No,
you know what? And guess what? You know, here you are trying to start the Patron, or whatever you call that thing,
Patreon,
to be able to give people, you know, information that they need. And guess what? They're not lining up and doing it, are they?
No, we've been doing
Some
well.
are, of course.
Yeah, we've been doing well with Patreon. I definitely want to thank the generous Patreon sponsors, and I want to thank you, Larry, for all the kind things that you've said. And while you've been talking, I've been directing people to go to nicholslive.com, where they can find a lot of information that you've posted there, including scripts and phone numbers they can use to call their representatives, and of course, the links where they can financially contribute to you and your work. And I do want to point out that Larry is using GoFundMe, and you can see that, you know, Larry is a very well-known guy, and in 6 months, Larry's only been able to raise $3,000. We look at these other pages; they're getting to $500,000 in 4 days. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is Patreon. It's the information. It's what's got to get out to the people. We're in a battle. The sooner you realize it, the sooner we identify it, the sooner we're in it.
Yeah.
But buddy, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Larry.
Effort, energy, put it into it.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate you joining me each week and creating this show. I'm sorry I keep stepping on your lines there. We've got a little bit of a delay with the cell phone and calling in and all that, but I always appreciate your insights. And this is a fascinating topic that you've raised. And again, it just reminds me that nothing is as it seems, right? I mean, we think Rosenstein's going to resign, we think he's going to be fired, but now you've raised a very interesting point. Larry, do you think that Jeff Sessions trusts Rod Rosenstein?
No, does not. Does not trust him at all. But that was a foul up that Jeff got involved with. He got sucked in, as did Trump and some others. And that's what happens when you get involved with geopolitical movements instead of doing what you know is right.
Yeah, it's a complicated puzzle. I mean, obviously, the lawyer that's defending Andrew McCabe is not just focused solely on McCabe. He sees that if Trump gains strength, if Trump has Kavanaugh in the Supreme Court, I mean, certainly this battle between the president and the deep state, in this case, you know, criminal elements of the FBI, certainly could conceivably go to some sort of Supreme Court decision, right?
Right. Listen, do me a favor. With the power of your network, you and all your audience send word to Rosenstein that I'm coming after him. And I'm going to bust his ass.
I'm going to advise people not to email.
Go to jail. Huh?
Yeah. No, we can't tell people to email the deputy attorney general and tell them that Larry is going to bust his ass. But the notion that he's going to jail, I think, is worthwhile for sure.
Yeah. Well, trust me. One of us is going. Him or me one. He's got all the power. I got none. You know that.
Right. Right. Now, you mentioned Juanita Broderick. Juanita's been getting a lot of attention because, you know, squarely because of this intense hypocrisy. We had Hillary come out and say that Dr. Ford deserves to be heard and deserves to be believed. I think we need to move past this notion that everyone deserves to be believed. Everyone does not deserve to be believed. People with credible stories deserve to be believed. Certainly everyone has the right to be heard, but if everything you're saying sounds like a lie, you don't automatically deserve to be believed because you're accusing someone of a crime. This is what I wanted to talk to you about, Larry. Do you think it's correct for me to say, or is it incorrect for me to say, that it seems to be a recurring practice for the Clintons to select something that is so polarizing, such a lightning rod, that even questioning it puts the questioner, you know, like saying, oh, this woman's lying. They say, oh, you know, you're a misogynist. You don't believe sexual assault victims.
I don't think anybody's saying that, Jason. I know we're not, you and I.
They said it to Ted Cruz.
I can say this, you know, the truth is the truth in this matter exactly. And the truth is, it's not they should be heard and should be believed just because they're saying it. They need to be offered the opportunity to prove it. And if they can substantially prove what they're alleging, yes, now you prosecute.
Yeah.
But they got to prove it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it happened 10 days ago or 37 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we share the belief that it's dangerous and irresponsible to spread this notion that anyone at all deserves to be believed, because it sends a message to would-be charlatans that they can just accuse someone and they have this automatic right to be believed. I think that cannot supersede the right to be innocent until proven guilty.
Right. And just if you would stress to your writers and people that help you with your publication, stress to them that you can't just up and change the Constitution to where the Constitution now is, just because a woman says it, it's got to be believed. It's 100% true. You can't do that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So let's talk for a minute, Larry, about how even in the absence of due process, people are sometimes suffering in terms of their careers and their personal safety and their personal rights as a result of this. I do not like Ted Cruz at all. I think that his father was a CIA asset who was present during the Kennedy assassination, and I think he's a weaselly liar. But I do think he has the right to eat dinner in a restaurant without being shouted down by people who say, "We believe survivors." Now, I think we should believe survivors, but we don't yet know if Dr. Ford is a survivor or if she is a woman crying wolf. And if she is the latter, then she's actually damaging survivors because she dilutes future victims' ability to come forward with these types of allegations and be trusted. As you and I have been discussing for the past 45 minutes, I think it's going to eventually be proven that this woman, or perhaps people taking advantage of her, have been lying specifically with the intention of damaging Brett Kavanaugh and through that damaging President Trump. So once, or I should say if that does happen, how do you suppose all of these people who are protesting against Ted Cruz and doing all this stuff where they've just automatically believed this person, how will they respond, Larry?
You know, I don't know, Jason. I don't know. But here again, if Ted Cruz is lying, if he's lying, then the same laws should have applied to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that he's necessarily lying. I think they just, approached him in a restaurant, demanded to know how he would vote for or against Kavanaugh, and on the basis that he's friends with Kavanaugh, they were just, getting in his face and pushing his wife. That really is not right. It's kind of harassing the guy. Just for being friends with Kavanaugh.
Jason, just don't get me into that one too. I'm just telling you. Ted Cruz, Lee Nichols, Jason Goodman, all of us, we have a standard that we must meet.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then we're no better or different than they are.
I agree. I agree. And I didn't just come out and formulate my opinion based on a gut feeling and just say, oh, this woman's lying because I like Brett Kavanaugh. I actually was reluctant to support Brett Kavanaugh because Larry Klayman has said that Kavanaugh under W. Bush was supporting all kinds of, violations of the Constitution. I'm actually kind of concerned that we have someone who was supportive of spying, but it doesn't cause me to support using lies and misstatements to destroy that person. I'd rather go through the normal due process. I don't know if you're aware, Larry, but yesterday True Pundit actually released a PDF of the entire 1982 high school yearbook from the high school that Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford went to. This is pretty interesting. I went on to Google Maps to 7303 River Road in Bethesda, Maryland. This yearbook makes quite a lot of references to drinking and parties with alcohol. I don't necessarily consider that to be substantially different than what most 17 and 18-year-olds are doing in high school. I would even think when you were in high school, I think 18 was the drinking age. It was soon after, you know, in my time in the 70s that they changed it to 21. I found it really interesting that the high school is located right next to Booze Creek. So they're really loving the booze over there, Larry. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
But the final point I wanted to leave you with, Larry, even if it is true that something inappropriate happened, if there was an assault, and I'm not in any way saying it's okay for a 17-year-old to assault a 15-year-old, that would of course be horrible, but setting the specific charge aside for a moment, this is a bit unprecedented in that during the confirmation of a Supreme Court hearing, we're now going back to a time when the guy was a minor. So this is an allegation of crime committed by a minor, which if she had made the allegations then, and even if he were convicted then, wouldn't it be expunged from his record when he turned 18?
I would think so. I would. Then again, I'm not the judge.
Right. I mean, isn't it a
I
new
certainly
low?
would think that it would be significant and relevant.
Yeah. Isn't this a new low, Larry? Have you ever seen them go back to the days of someone being a minor? I mean, certainly there's a reason why laws don't apply to minors in the same way they do adults. It's generally understood that before the age of adulthood, people aren't capable of making the same types of decisions that they do when they're adults. Perhaps it's a good lesson for people in high school to not drink and don't post crazy things on social media.
That's right. That is right. I'm Reverend. Well, I've got to run. So
no problem. Okay. Well, listen,
we have
Larry.
given the audience a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And we just.
Absolutely. So we'll talk next week, Larry. Until then, I definitely want to encourage people to check out nicholslive.com. They can sponsor Larry there with financial contributions. They can read his scripts that they can use to call their representatives. Larry and his people have assembled a really convenient list of all of the phone numbers and everything. You can call your representatives. Larry's also got a post here on nicholslive.com just from the other day, Kavanaugh May Day. So people can read Larry's blog posts there, and definitely want to thank Larry for joining me and for creating this show here on Crowdsource the Truth. I definitely want to remind people that they can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth by going to patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth. I will be back tonight at 8 p.m. with Michael Moore, the journalist formerly known as Thomas Paine. Michael will be making a very important announcement relative to his forthcoming book, and we'll be talking more about Brett Kavanaugh. We'll be talking about the FOIA evidence that we revealed last week, which somebody at the Daily Caller seems to think is their exclusive, but it isn't. I want to thank my guest, Larry Nichols. I want to thank everybody for watching. I'll see you later tonight.